The following super fight is the Tezos Flow Grappling IBJJF Grand Prix main event of the evening. Introducing first, out of the blue corner, training out of Houston, Texas, and representing Dreamark, Isaque Bahiense!
Defending IBJJF Flow Grappling Grand Prix champion Isaque Bahiense, representing Dreamark, now in Texas, makes his return to the mats here in Austin.
Yeah, Isaque, obviously one of the best middle and medium heavyweights around right now. The #1 ranked medium heavyweight, the Grand Prix champion, and of course, the 2018 world champion at middleweight.
And his opponent, out of the white corner, training out of Costa Mesa, California, and representing Art of Jiu-Jitsu, Tainan Dalpra!
Tainan Dalpra from Art of Jiu-Jitsu AOJ, regarded as one of, if not the pound-for-pound best competitor in the sport today. World champion, Pan Am champion, European champion. He's here to get another win in Austin, Texas.
Tainan Dalpra, undefeated in IBJJF competition as a black belt. He's 55-0. Isaque holds, he gave Tainan the roughest time in the 2021 IBJJF World Final. We'll see if he can do that again.
Let's take a look at the tail of the tape. Tainan Dalpra, 22 years old, 5'10", 180.2 pounds. Isaque Bahiense, 27 years old, 5'6", and 181.4 pounds. This is it, the super fight we've all been waiting for. Tainan versus Isaque. Let's kick things off.
No, I would say, as far as the input we've heard, Tainan is the overwhelming favorite in the opinion of a lot of coaches and fans. But Isaque known for a lot, but especially his explosiveness, his aggression, especially early on in matches, and we're getting a look at that here now.
And you know what? Isaque has experience. He's a guy that knows how to cook the best of the best. He's been there against the best of the best. He's beaten the best of the best. But Tainan is on another level, and I think, you know, Isaque called for this match after the last IBJJF Flow GP. He wanted this match. He wants vengeance. He wants to get revenge for the match that they had before. And Tainan Dalpra here and ready, willing, and able to defend his title as well as super fight champion here at the IBJJF Flow Grappling Grand Prix.
Yeah, look at that grip break from Tainan. That was very smart. Isaque had the left hand on the hip and the right hand on the ankle. Tainan was able to break that grip off, kind of changing the trajectory of Isaque's position and really kind of switch things up. Now Tainan able to switch to the other side, rotate to his left hip, and then maybe look to come up or enter the back positions from here.
Once again, for you guys at home, this is a 30-minute match. We have not seen an IBJJF 30-minute match, I think, since the days of Walid Ismail and Jean-Jacques Machado in the Rio de Janeiro or something, but it does not happen. This was a special match made for these special two athletes. They're the best of the best. They asked for this match. We had to make different rules for the entire event to make this, you know, be the match that we all wanted to see, that we didn't see the first time. It was a very tactical match the last time, but the idea with this match today is to finally have somebody submit the other.
And Tainan Dalpra, the first to put points on the board, comes up for a sweep and takes two. And into a close, like half-guard pass here. Tainan best known for his distance passing and his mid-range passing. But in this close range, he can start to wear on Isaque. And, of course, that will pay dividends in this 30-minute match if it goes beyond what traditional time.
I will say one of the most noticeable things about Tainan, though, when he is fighting from any position, is that once he gains an inch, he does not give it back easily. I mean, he is constantly moving in the right direction. And so we can see how, even though this may not be his preferred passing position that we notoriously see him in, he is moving in the right direction in upper body and lower body. Isaque had a quick look on attacking that right leg here to start to create some recovery positions, and Tainan was able to move back into more of a preferred smash pass easily.
Isaque looking, Tainan looking to weave a crossface, but Isaque doing great work to stave that off and keep Tainan's hands off of his collar.
It was a quick look, almost like at a half Nelson there from Tainan, and then he switched to that under collar grip instead, which we know can lead either to the back if Isaque starts to turtle, but it also is a nasty crossface if Isaque does opt to stay on his back or his shoulder.
Tainan has been boasting the skill of his long step recently. He's put out a couple of courses on it at this point, so he's got the grips that he uses to set that. Of course, he sets it up from just about every grip, but what you might call traditional long step grips, looks like that's what Tainan is working toward.
Tainan Dalpra on top of Isaque Bahiense, putting tons of pressure, trying to smash to the right side.
I like Tainan's control with the right hand on Isaque's left sleeve because Isaque would typically look to bring his left hand inside to frame on Tainan's bicep, but he's not able to get a good frame on that arm because his sleeve was being controlled. But now he does get his hand free, so we'll see if he's able to clear that right hand of Tainan off at all. But Tainan just so insistent with that right hand on the collar, starting to rotate his forearm into Isaque's face and to bring some of that classic crossface pressure that we see from him when he's passing so often. Doubled up with his right foot entering in on the hamstring of Isaque, bringing in his own butterfly position. And now he switches that to a knee underneath.
Controlling that left elbow also prevents Isaque from getting on his elbow to kind of have any sort of offensive half guard setups there. So it really shuts down everything that Isaque can do. Isaque trying to explode and trying to make space off to get Tainan off him, but Tainan now on a near pass gets the pass. After a few seconds, there it is, going to get the points.
Tainan's patience there really paid off because he was playing with the position of going knee cut, going mount. He had a lot of different options. Isaque getting very explosive, and many times you see athletes lose their passing position and a recovery happens, but Tainan was very smart, very slow and patient, and let Isaque kind of lose his own guard through those explosions, ending up in this really, really solidified side control position.
That's a great point, Kendall, because you saw Isaque hit this big hip bump, which had Tainan rushed would have knocked him off base, but Tainan let Isaque go first. He let him explode first and then was able to finish and complete the pass, putting 3 more points on the board.
And I would say he's doing the same now, right? He's in a side control position, but if you notice, he has slowly switched his grips to being tighter and tighter, but not really by his own doing. It's from Isaque's big explosions that he starts finding another opening that Isaque's giving. Now, to Isaque's credit, he had, this is a position where, yes, you have to do some big explosions to create enough space. So it's you have to take some risks once you've made a mistake enough to get into such a bad position. So he's doing the right thing, but Tainan just so expertly keeping control and using any of those openings to his advantage. We see him using his shin to pin those arms down, to break those grips on Isaque's left hand, left arm. We see it again now with his right knee, continuing to remove that threat from his side control position.
The other interesting thing is in the side control, you're going to Tainan is using some very interesting angles towards the hip of Isaque. He keeps going kind of like towards the hips back in, not in the contemporary side control, not even going towards the leg drag, but he keeps directing both knees towards Isaque's hips, which is shutting down Isaque's guard recovery totally, keeping him flat.
Right, it makes it almost impossible for Isaque to hip escape and turn his knees in, like you're saying.
And I'm really interested in what Tainan's been doing with his right leg, trying to dig his knee inside of Isaque's left arm. It looks like he really wants that high side control with the arm pin. I'm wondering if he's looking to set up perhaps an armbar or a back take or some specific attack from that position, because the grips he's keeping, it looks like he doesn't want to let them go until he's achieved that hip under the arm.
We also continuously see him working towards a knee on belly with his left knee, which he could be looking for knee on belly, but I think because he's doing so much pinning with his right shin on that arm, on Isaque's left arm, I think really what he's looking for is the mount. So like you're mentioning, Corey, he is not going to let go of those grips until he has the exact position that he wants. So he's using that cross face to turn Isaque's head the other direction. He's using his right knee to pin that arm down, and slowly but surely he's creeping that left leg up and over again and again, using that left arm to secure Isaque's hips as he does so.
Isaque very aware of the game that Tainan's playing, right? Tainan is spamming one direction, trying to get one particular thing. And Isaque will stick in that fight until Tainan maybe averts his attention somewhere else.
Although Tainan being very aggressive and dominating so far, he just received a penalty from the referee, so he's got to start working here, because although he's shutting Isaque down, he's not advancing positions, and that's what the referees are going to start looking at. You see the referee circling now again, and I think he wants to see Tainan not just shutting him down, but going to knee on belly, trying to get to the back, or going to the mount, which is, you know, the progressional path in jiu-jitsu.
In a 30-minute match, those penalties are heavy. You know, it only takes 4 penalties to get disqualified. So, yeah, 30 minutes to work. Those 4, they're very valuable penalties. You don't want to give them up for just coasting a little too much.
And how crazy is it? We're almost 10 minutes in. 10 minutes went by like 5. But, yeah.
Now we see 2 knees up on Isaque's side.
Again, it's this modified angle position. He's not committing to a full knee on belly. It's like he's putting both on. He keeps working back towards the hips. Just frustrating Isaque in this position.
Look at that interesting grip he used with his left hand on the ankle to try to switch his knee into more of a leg drag position. But as I say that, he kind of returns to the same position that we keep seeing. He definitely has a very specific game plan in mind. We just don't know how it ends yet.
Still continuing in that fight with his right knee against Isaque's left arm. Now maybe changing the strategy momentarily, coming to knee on belly, if only to try and force an opening underneath that elbow.
Now we see him weave his left arm through the knees before returning back to his consistent left-hand grip here. And it's interesting to note that his right hand hasn't really moved too much the entire time. That crossface is very, very consistent. And that could be for a couple of reasons. One, you could say that he's looking for just overall dominance and control. 2, he could be looking for some attacks to the neck, keeping some pressure on the carotid artery there, opening up different submissions, forcing Isaque to address that. And 3, I mean, if nothing else, it's uncomfortable, it's draining, it's hard to continue to fight off of that in such a long match. So he could have the strategy of just continuing to wear Isaque down, because we know, as Tainan does, that if Isaque is able to recover with his incredible guard, it is going to be a very different match than we're seeing right now.
"20 minutes left in this 30-minute super fight. 5 points to nothing for Tainan Dalpra with 7 advantages but 1 penalty.
Now that was really interesting because Isaque brought his left knee in, and it looked like Tainan could have just continued to stay in side control, but he opted to almost go back into the half guard. I don't think that it was enough to get another set of pass points, but that could have been part of the strategy there because he didn't look too insistent on avoiding it. Now, these guys so experienced, of course. Isaque also didn't lock up his half guard probably for this exact reason.
The amount of mental and physical frustration that Isaque must be facing right now is got to be overwhelming. You know, to be down 10 minutes, stuck in the same position, just being shut down over and over and over again by Tainan. If Isaque can rally and escape this, it'll be interesting to see, you know, just how they both deal with that mentally, because Tainan is basically giving him everything here. You know, he's been shutting him down. He's been doing a great job of maintaining. But if Isaque can escape, it'll be interesting to see how things change, or if they change.
Meanwhile, Tainan getting closer and closer to finally controlling that left arm of Isaque Bahiense. But Isaque's just still so stubborn, even at the last minute, in squeezing his arm. But Tainan now eats another penalty, giving Isaque an advantage. And with more than half the match left to go, Tainan has 2 penalties on the board against him. Wondering to see if he's going to abandon this strategy and chase something else, or if he's going to commit to this.
Well, there's 2 things that are going to happen. Either he's got to open up to attack, or he's got to try to progress. And either doing those things could give Isaque the space that he needs to either recover or explode and escape. Tainan, as you said, Kendall, opts to go back in the half guard, right? And he's going to rack up another maybe advantage. He just keeps putting himself back. But
I think it depends on if the referee views it as an actual guard recovery. But because since Tainan is putting himself back inside the half guard, I don't think it'll count.
No.
Yeah, it won't be another set of points unless Isaque were to lock his legs and start to attack from a half guard. So this will not be another pass, I don't believe. And Isaque knows that, right? He's like very conscientious of the fact that he's not actively trying to put a half guard together.
Yeah, Isaque has to. Isaque has to show an effort that he wants to keep that position.
Knee bar attack there.
Shades of Bernardo Faria with the over-under knee bar attack by Tainan Dalpra. Could you imagine if he submits Isaque with the knee? Who would have called that one in this match?
I do think there was some knee extension there, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that was some torque. He earned an advantage for it. He definitely is off the stall clock there for a moment, and now he's back in side control. But again, as we mentioned, no more points for passing. It was not a repass. Oh, Excuse me, they just added it in. We had some input from the outside referees, so he will also add 3 points to the board. With 17 minutes left and an 8-point lead, this is definitely the Tainan show so far, but everything could change if Isaque is able to get to a guard recovery.
It's a really smart strategy to use that knee bar by Tainan. Isaque wanted nothing to do with his half guard, so Tainan said, if you don't want to keep your legs tight, I'll give you a reason to. If not, this knee bar is here waiting for you. Just a reminder that I'm dangerous if you don't want to play.
Yeah, super smart move there. We're going to see a pause here.
Might have a cut because we're calling the medic here. Looks like Tainan may have a little bit of a nosebleed.
There's a look at Isaque Bahiense's corner where, of course, Nicholas Mergali coaching his friend Isaque.
Now, it's interesting if you think about being in the mind of Isaque right now. What's going on for you? I mean, other than what he's doing, he's trying to recover the guard. Is there some different strategy that he can approach? Is it more of the same thing, kind of wearing down that side control pressure of Tainan and forcing an opening?
So,
or is he enduring this whole thing and just waiting for that?
I don't know if anyone would do that by choice.
I'm just saying, no, not by choice, but is he saying, you know what, he's been giving me hell, but I'm still here, and when I get out, I'm going to attack? I don't know, but man, it's got to be grueling to be in his position at this point, and especially trying to recover half guard and having your knee, contorted like that. It's very frustrating. But now Isaque recovers, close guard. We'll see how things change in this match.
I mean, we still have 16 minutes left on the clock. This is longer than a traditional IBJJF match of 10 minutes, so we have plenty of time to work here. But you've got to imagine, you've got to wonder the exhaustion that you have dealt with being under the pressure of Tainan Dalpra for 15 minutes.
And one of Isaque's best assets is his explosiveness. So to have all of that energy drained from you, I don't know how much effort Isaque put into just surviving there, but it would stand to reason that if Tainan wanted to wear Isaque out before doing what he was looking for, let's see here a great test of where Isaque is on the explosivity scale.
Yeah, I mean, he's still looking fresh to me. Tainan almost coming up on a single leg. Isaque stomping that leg down. Now, this may be a bit of a better option for Isaque to be in a passing position. He's going to have to deal with that top leg and start to see if he can close the distance. But notice how he keeps his toes as a nice balancing, like a kickstand, and then continues to drive his hips in and is able to use that to posture up, pass that leg through.
Nice little spin there by Isaque. Isaque's, more of a top player that I would, like to classify him than Tainan. But, after 15 minutes on the bottom of Tainan Dalpra, it'll be interesting to see how his passing game is going to be effective.
Now look at Tainan attacking this top leg. I mean, this could lead to a lot of different entries. He can attack the leg. He can use it to sweep. He can go underneath and enter the back. This is not an easy position for Isaque to stay on top in. And if he goes to the bottom, he will concede another 2 points.
I think I see a back take here coming, Kendall, to your point, but maybe Tainan just wants to take top position, if that's what he decides to do.
Yeah, he comes up with that really strong grip on the right hand. That was super, super smart to establish that grip before he came up. He was able to use that to elevate Isaque's hips a little bit and get into a nice, solid position in the top without being in one of those situations where you kind of sweep and then you're into a person's really dangerous guard. He kind of came up on top and established a nice passing position for himself without putting himself into too much danger.
14 minutes, 18 seconds left in this 30-minute super fight. Tainan Dalpra up 10 points over Isaque Bahiense. Isaque trying to rally, trying to establish an effective guard attack here, but Tainan just shutting everything down here.
I like that grip from Isaque on the right pant leg, or the right hand on the pant leg. He was able to use that to elevate Tainan a little bit, but not quite enough to get the sweep. Tainan was able to break that grip, and now we're back into a closed guard.
That underhook Tainan had on the left side, which was putting some pressure on Isaque. Isaque was able to turn that around, use it to threaten Tainan's arm, and get back to closed guard where he's a little safer, at least for the time being.
We saw Isaque almost entering into a deep de la Hiva with that right leg, but Tainan quickly able to switch now into this deep half position. Isaque using his hips to explode. We've seen him sweep from here many times before, but Tainan with an incredible base on top as well. It's going to be very hard to tilt his hips in one direction or the other. And now he settles into a much better half guard for a top player. And he starts to smash in a similar position we saw him in earlier in this match.
Tainan continuing to smash on top. 13 minutes left in this match. Isaque Bahiense trying to rally, trying to recover guard with everything he has, trying to work lapels, trying to make space, but Tainan is not giving him an inch. Now Isaque in sort of a deep half guard position here.
Yeah, that lapel work paid off. He passed the lapel through, and now he's back into a deep half. See Tainan kind of hiding that, looked like he was hiding that lapel or maybe just undoing his lapel himself. Now, this is a precarious position for the person on the top if you do not have an underhook with your left hand or on that top side. Since he's not able to dig an underhook, he has a very interesting grip on the collar instead that he can start to use to control the position of Isaque's head.
Isaque's going for those collars, which is a really good position to sweep from the deep half guard position. Tainan balancing out almost at the splits there to defend it. Now getting back to the knee cut.
Tainan passed the lapel around with his right hand. He chooses to let go of it now, but it was definitely serving him in that half guard, almost kind of like setting up a Hamel Bahal style lapel control and some cross stroke variations, but now settling back into a knee cut here. Very strong passing position for Tainan Dalpra. Uses his right hand to elevate Isaque's left arm to control that elbow to avoid the frame, which makes it very hard for the person on bottom to control that knee that's diving through, and that will score him another pass here with 11 minutes on the clock.
Now, I'm curious to see if from this dominant position, Tainan goes once again into trying to pin that near side arm or to extend that near side arm of Isaque, or if he is going to shift onto a different game plan. It's clear to me that he started this match with a finish or an attack, a position in mind that he wanted to work. But Isaque, apparently up until now, at least very aware of it.
Yeah, and I mean, another penalty will put 2 points on the board, which I'm sure he's not too worried about. But we have to consider that 4 is a DQ. Now, I don't see that happening. I don't see him allowing that to happen. I'm sure he'd much rather go back into the open guard before risking that. But it's not like we haven't seen it before, so it's definitely not out of the question.
I mean, with 10 minutes, almost 11 minutes left on the clock, you know, imagine doing a full match with only 2 penalties allowed to you.
Right.
That's, you know, you make a bad grip by mistake and lose everything.
Right. Yeah, again, very similar to what we saw earlier. Right hand on a strong crossface, using his top side knee to clear that near side arm, switching into different variations of knee on belly and knee on chest, really, with both sides. And then his left hand swiveled through the center, grabbing onto either the pant leg, which we saw here, or switching back to that inside control. He does score 2 advantages here as well. Tainan does for those knee on belly attempts.
Well, the one thing I will say about this match is definitely did not go as the same as their first encounter, where we saw a lot of lapel 50-50 pretty much for the majority of the match. This has been all Tainan with passing and domination from side control and just shutting down all the attacks of Isaque Bahiense. Completely different match, very dominant performance. And it's interesting to see the progression of Tainan Dalpra as an athlete, as one of the, you know, the best pound for pound currently in the sport, to see, you know, what he's done against one of the best and how he's changed his game and just expanded his arsenal.
Absolutely, and he's blown the scoreboard open so much so that I would think for Isaque on the bottom, he has to believe that this is a submission-only match right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
It can be very hard to even feel that way, though, when you're in a position like this, because getting to a position where you could submit from may feel very far away, right? When you've been kind of drowning in this kind of pressure for a majority of the match, it speaks to the resilience of Isaque that not once has it looked like he's conceded position or he's giving up this side control position or that he's content being here. And many athletes, we do see that happen, especially in a match as long as this. So, again, to the resilience of Isaque, it's not that he can't see a submission happening, but it's that he's going to have to change the position first and kind of work his way back to more of a neutral position before he can change the tide.
Are you guys seeing a change in Tainan's physicality in the last couple of seconds here? It looks like he's a little bit more violent, a little bit more deliberate with the way he's delivering some of these grips or knee slices. Or
I would agree. I wonder if he is just feeling a lot more insistent on getting what he wants, whatever that is. We're not quite sure yet exactly where he wants to be. But I believe that he knows that the penalties have started to rack up. He's probably very insistent on finding the submission that he's looking for. I know he wants to end this match in a submission, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's turning up the heat a little bit to get the reactions that he needs and to get what he wants. But that also can come with a price sometimes, right?
Absolutely. 8 minutes left in this 30-minute battle between Tainan Dalpra and Isaque Bahiense. Very dominant so far. It's been all Tainan Dalpra. Isaque continuously trying to recover, but just unable to do anything against this young champion. And as we said, you know, regarded as one of, if not the best pound-for-pound current competitor in the IBJJF, Tainan Dalpra, just showing, you know, that AOJ style, the passing system, and showing a little diversity in his game today. Just, it seems like every time he competes, he has a new bag of tricks to display. And then, of course, you can go purchase a course and learn what exactly he's doing on AOJ Plus a week after.
Well, here's something that doesn't surprise me, but it's definitely something that I haven't seen much of from Tainan. Tainan typically, when he passes the guard, spends a minute or two in side control and then finishes the fight.
Yeah.
Right? But because this match is so long, it's given us an opportunity to see just how good his control is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's worth mentioning that he typically, like you said, Corey, he does finish quickly, and he may do it from the mount, he may finish from side control, he may switch to arm and choke attacks, but a lot of times he ends up taking the back. Now, what we've seen here with Isaque is that Isaque is so experienced, like we've talked about many times, he is somehow figuring out how to not let Tainan advance to mount or a submission, but also not give up his back, which is very, very impressive with a competitor that is this dominant with everyone they compete against. So there is a lot of that micro stuff that is going on that it's a little bit difficult to see from a spectator's eye. But that also kind of makes me wonder if Tainan is looking for specifically only the back or the mount, right? I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case. Now, we see for a second, he seemed to switch his strategy up just a little bit. He brought his left hand under the armpit. There are some chokes from that position that we can attack, but now he's back to the pant grip again.
With 6 minutes left, up 13 points. You guys kind of mentioned it. I think Tainan has a specific thing that he really, really wants to get, because technically he could just let go and let Isaque try to rally back. And you know, it's going to be almost impossible for him to get anything on Tainan at this point. But I think he's got a specific thing that he wants to submit with, and he will not let it go.
Again, just want to point out the crossface that hit. I think that's the only thing that doesn't move. You know, that's the only thing that doesn't change. And very fair. I mean, with someone like Isaque, if you let his head free for a moment, you let him start to turn towards you and turn on his side, like we're seeing right now here, which could start to change up this position, then Isaque is going to start to find his openings. He's going to start to create a better position for himself, which we almost saw there for a moment.
It was a really cool grip by Tainan to keep Isaque's legs laced, right? His legs woven together so that even though Isaque did everything he could to get his knees inside and frame, Tainan just pulled them through to the other side.
With 4 minutes and 40 seconds left, you have to wonder if we're going to see another penalty. I don't think at this point that's very likely because Tainan is being so incredibly active. But to be honest, I thought that before. Thought he was being very active before when he got two. So very difficult to say. For a moment there, we did see that brief switch again from Tainan's left hand, reaching under the armpit, maybe to the back of the collar. He can set up some collar choke positions from there. But once again, opting to stay inside control. Now he starts to step over that top leg, switches to the other side. Looked for a moment there like he might be looking to step over to mount, but Isaque's hips were a little bit too far away maybe for that approach. So instead, now this is, I think, the first time we've seen him on the other side of side control, but a very similar position once again.
Tainan wants to see if maybe his game will work on the left instead of the right.
Just adding to the mountain of pressure that Tainan's could you just imagine being underneath him right now for 25 minutes and then him switching sides towards the end? You know, gi grip on the face, just excruciating. This is, yeah, this has been definitely a demonstration of the control of Tainan Dalpra.
With Isaque's corner very quiet, it begs the question of, you know, what the game plan is, or what he, other than survival, like where is he trying to get back to? Where does he feel like his best chance of attack is from? Which guard would he like to recover to? But then again, sometimes when you're in such a painful and difficult position, it's like, well, I'll take anything that I can get. So, but just interesting. We don't normally hear such a quiet corner with a match of this magnitude.
I think it's quiet because
He's doing everything he
he's
can
doing
do,
everything
right?
he can
Right,
do.
right, right.
And I think the other corner might not know what to say at this point. It's tough, you know, to be, but they got to rally behind him and they got to try to motivate Isaque to get out of this and make some space.
Yeah, it's hard because when you have someone who is this talented and this experience, and there's that third penalty, which means there can only be one more, or that's the last penalty that Tainan can receive. The next one would be a disqualification, and with 2.5 minutes on the clock, it's unlikely but not impossible. See a stop to the match. The medic is coming in, maybe to get rid of some blood. Were you scared about a DQ there for a minute, Ricardo?
I thought it was.
No, I don't think it would be quite that fast, but it definitely is not a fun position to be in.
I know the refs were going to be on it today, but that was
I would hate for that match to end that way.
That'd be anticlimactic for sure.
We can hear Tainan's corner giving him some very, very specific instructions for the last 2.5 minutes of the match.
Guy Mendez seems at least slightly worried about a potential 4th penalty.
One thing to note, Bear just mentioned to me, Isaque doing such a great job of not exposing his back. And otherwise, this match would have been over probably 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Not giving it at all.
Man, that's what I was saying earlier. Like, I think Tainan was really only looking for the back of the mount. And the fact that Isaque somehow evaded both of those is really, really incredible because, like Corey mentioned earlier, I don't think we've ever seen a situation where Tainan was passed and then he didn't move into a very close submission or a near submission or a finish very shortly thereafter, typically from mount or the back.
So 2 minutes left on the clock now. I wonder if Tainan's going to play a more open game and see if he can get Isaque to turn his back off the mat.
I think he's just going to let loose here at the last 2 minutes because he essentially has nothing to lose. Isaque is down by 11 points.
And the biggest danger, the biggest risk Tainan could take is to consolidate position, right? He might as well throw himself back into the worn out and exhausted guard of Isaque and pass it again, see if he can make something happen at risk.
First look at a
4th
mount
penalty.
there. Yeah, first look at the mount there in the match. And again, Isaque has had his guard pass multiple times, but the ability for him to avoid the mount or the back is incredible. But now we see a different position from Tainan as he, for a moment there, he was reaching his right hand through, potentially looking at sort of a head and arm control. But now opting to come back into side control on the left side, 1:10 on the clock. He gets those points on the board, and we'll have to see how insistent he is on obviously definitely avoiding a penalty, but 2, on looking for a position he could submit from.
Yeah, it looks like he's much more interested in cutting Isaque loose, going right back to his passing game where he knows he can remain active. Which, that would be just a devastating situation, right? To gain a 19-point lead in 30 minutes and then
Unheard of.
blow it all on being a little too slow.
Yeah, so now here he can move either into the mount or into a knee cut position. Depends on what he wants to do with his left arm. But either way, I think Tainan's looking very insistent on staying active on top, continuing to improve the position. But now this is the most space we've seen Isaque have in pretty much the entire match, in at least the last 15 minutes or so. We'll see if he tries to have some last-minute attacks here in the 20 seconds remaining.
Just toggling that long step and knee cut. 10 seconds left to go. Tainan Dalpra up 19-2 with 13 advantages to 1. Just gonna drop a cross choke in there for good measure.
The last match ended in controversy. It was super tight, but I think it's safe to say after this dominant performance that Tainan Dalpra has shown that he can defeat the best of the best in the world once again. Continues to show the world why he is considered the best pound-for-pound jiu-jitsu competitor in the gi right now. Just this dominant performance by Tainan Dalpra over Isaque Bahiense in this main event at the FLOGRAPPLING IBJJF Grand Prix. Let's go for the official decision here.
Your winner by points, Tainan Dalpra!
And there you have it. Tainan Dalpra gets the win.